Former student leaders and EFF members have established a trade union themselves to restore the dignity of working people across all sectors. They say the launch of the Workers' Socialist Union of South Africa followed talks between workers, students and civil society groupings. The trade union will be officially launched tomorrow. To discuss, we're joined by the convener, Mmeli Gebashe, who says that the idea was born when the EFF student command became involved in trying to improve the plight of workers at Wits University. Of course, there have been issues there over the years, and we're joined by Mmeli Gebashe right now. Thank you for being with us. The founding member, I understand, is also a former Wits SRC president. Is this a small initiative focused on Wits or something bigger, or are there hopes that it will be bigger?
Good evening, Francis. Just to correct my name, I was not the president of Wits University. However, I was part of the first EFF-led SRC as the transformation officer at Wits University.
Sure. I understand one of the initiators of this is a former Wits SRC president. So again, the question, are you all Witsies coming together, or is there a bigger plan here?
Oh, okay, no. Yes, the former president of Wits University, Masebe, is also part of the initiative. But we're not only limited to Wits University. Wits is just, the beginning of, our national politics, our national footprint in politics. We have workers at South Point, we have workers at DHL in the East End, we have workers in the West End, So it's not just a Wits thing. It's where everything was inspired and started was Wits University during the times of fees must fall, the times of insourcing of workers at institutions of higher learning, the times when we were leading in the SRC, when we were fighting for workers at South Point who were retrenched and all that, yes.
And EFF leaders involved, is there any endorsement or any encouragement from the national, provincial EFF leadership?
Sorry?
Is the EFF as a party involved in this at all? Any encouragement or endorsement from the leadership?
Okay, like we've already, said in our office opening, we are not an EFF organization. Obviously the EFF is the home to most of the founding members of the trade union, but we have, some of the founders are from the PAC, some of the founders of the union are from the ANC. So we are not, in cahoots with any political party. We're an independent trade union that, seeks to, fight and defend the dignity of workers, especially on the question of insourcing.
One of the analysts on this show earlier was bemoaning the fact that there's very little unity amongst workers' movements already in South Africa. Why have you chosen to launch something new rather than join any of the existing structures, COSATU, SAFTU, AMCU, NUMSA?
Basically, I will say that all these, organizations, trade union organizations and organizations that we found have inspired us starting this thing, because on campus, for instance, you find that workers who are part of the unions that you've mentioned, these old traditional trade unions, they are part of them, but each and every now and then they come back to student leaders like ourselves who've been in the struggle of workers and continue seeking assistance, especially on petty issues like your medical aid, your overtime, being overworked. So we said, but it cannot be that as young independent leaders we can fight to champion a bigger victory like insourcing, but these trade unions that have all the infrastructure, they fail to defend workers on smaller questions like, demands like your medical aid, your housing allowance, and all sorts of things that workers are crying out. So we said, since we have this relationship with workers and we have relationships with, you know, the law firms like City and Tabela attorneys, let us just consult and find out how can we formalize this relationship, because there's nothing as tiring, you know, in activism as always being, you know, representing people in your individual capacity, because firstly, it opens for corruption, it opens, you know, to, it opens students and, you know, young leaders to the vulnerability of, you know, being bought by management and all sorts of things. So we said, let us do the consultation, team up with the law firms, you know, City and attorneys that we've been teaming up with, that we've been working with in our activism, you know, especially in student activism days. Let us see what we can do. And the solution was that let us formalize our relationship with workers. So this, what will be happening tomorrow, it's not a beginning of, you know, a journey. It's what has already been there. It's just us formalizing. It's us saying we are these independent young leaders, right, you know, and workers. And this is what we are going to do.
All right, thank you very much. That was Mmeli Gebashe, Workers' Socialist Union of South Africa General Secretary.